Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise, get you informed fast. Today, we're plunging into, well, a pretty fascinating question. Can the hunt for $1 trillion fortune actually end up making all of us richer?
It sounds kind of counterintuitive, maybe.
Right, but we're talking about the very real possibility of the world's first trillionaires emerging, maybe even in just a few years. And that prospect, it's sparking this really intense debate about wealth, innovation, and, yeah, even the future of how companies will run.
And Elon Musk is right in the middle of it all, isn't he?
Absolutely. Some forecasts predict he could hit that astounding $1 trillion figure by 2027. And our sources, they show a total split in opinion. We had one investor on Fox Business recently really praising Musk's potential $1 trillion pay package at Tesla.
Calling it the best incentive plan.
Yeah, the best incentive plan that the shareholders could get. Tied to very ambitious corporate goals, the argument goes, that benefit everyone. But then you hear the other side warning about enormous dilution, where your shares get watered down, and even calling it a potential governance nightmare. So, look, this isn't just about one guy's bank balance. It's really about the engine of our economy, what drives innovation, and how companies are actually run for everyone involved.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together, a stack of articles, some deep research, expert commentary. Our mission really is to break down the economic and societal impacts of this kind of extreme wealth. We want to help you understand how these fortunes get built, the ripple effects, and the different arguments, both for and against.
Okay.
We'll really zoom in on executive compensation, which is often misunderstood, and take a close look at the complexities in the real world with Tesla's governance situation.
Right. So by the end, you'll have the insights to cut through the noise on this, look past the headlines.
Yeah, understand the forces really at play.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We've heard the doubts, but like you said, a lot of our sources actually push back. They see extreme wealth, maybe even trillionaires, not as the problem, but as like a powerful engine for the economy. What's the core idea connecting that massive personal wealth to, benefits for everyone else?
Well, what's really interesting is how often these huge fortunes are presented as being totally tied to creating immense real value for society. The argument isn't just, oh, these guys get rich. It's that their wealth is almost a side effect of solving huge problems that affect millions, maybe billions of people.
A side effect.
Yeah, like a byproduct. Our sources highlight these are savvy entrepreneurs building products that radically improve lives. Think about Amazon or Apple or SpaceX. The narrative is these didn't come from exploiting people. They came from taking high-risk bets and creating massive long-term value, stuff that fundamentally changed how we live and work.
So the idea of Musk becoming a trillionaire, it's framed as good for everyone if it happens, because he's, say, electrifying transport or making robots common.
That's the perspective, yeah. It's presented as a positive-sum game. His success reflects the scale of the massive challenges he's trying to tackle for, well, humanity.
So it's really about motivating those huge, game-changing ideas. Less about the money itself and more about the ambition it unlocks.
Precisely. That prospect of enormous success, even becoming a trillionaire, is seen as the ultimate fuel for that entrepreneurial drive. That's what makes the U.S. economy different, some argue.
Right.
It's not just about making a better mousetrap. It's about creating whole new industries, taking risks others won't. And there's a real concern we saw in the sources that trying to legislate away extreme wealth could actually, strangle that dynamism, could kill the incentive for the next big thing.
Okay, so like Musk's Tesla pay package, that investor on Fox Business called it the best incentive plan. Why specifically?
Because it's directly tied to very ambitious corporate goals. We're talking specific market cap targets, operational milestones, big stuff. And crucially, it requires him to hold the stock for 5 years. So the argument is that structure forces his personal success to align perfectly with creating long-term value for all the shareholders.
Okay, so it's not just the entrepreneurs and the shareholders benefiting then. You're saying the ripple effect goes way beyond that.
Oh, absolutely. A huge point, often missed, is that most of the value these innovators create actually goes straight to consumers. There's this calculation by Nobel economist William Nordhaus. He figured innovators capture only about 2% of the total social value they create.
Only 2%? Wow.
Yeah, it means an incredible 98% of the economic benefit ends up with us, the consumers, through lower prices, better products, better services.
So you give an example.
Think about the smartphone. Sure, Steve Jobs got rich, but billions of people got access to information, communication, tools that totally changed their lives. That value is way, way bigger than the cost of the phone. Or SpaceX. It's drastically cut the cost of launching things into space. What used to be just for governments or the super rich is now becoming more realistic for others, even space tourism.
So things start expensive, but then become available for everyone.
Exactly. It shows how tech, initially for the few, often becomes widespread and affordable.
That really does flip the script on how some people think about this.
Yeah.
And this extreme wealth, it's not just locked away somewhere, it's active.
No, definitely not idle. The sources really emphasize it gets reinvested back into businesses, fueling more growth, creating jobs, driving the next innovation. And philanthropy plays a massive role, too. Since 2015, American billionaires, they've donated or pledged something like $185 billion.
$185 billion? That's huge.
Yeah, to areas like education, medical research, the environment. This private money fosters experimentation and diverse approaches, often doing things government spending can't or won't, maybe faster, more agile. So ultimately, wealth built in competitive markets is seen as dynamic capitalism at work, not exploitation. And the stat that 70% of U.S. billionaires are self-made really reinforces that idea of earned success, ingenuity, hard work in a free market.
Okay, so if that extreme wealth is tied to creating value and benefiting society, what about the pay for the executives actually running these companies? CEO pay gets a lot of public criticism, right? Seems crazy high sometimes. But our sources suggest a different view, especially from shareholders. What's going on there?
Well, that really brings up a key question. Who actually benefits from exec comp and whose criticism really matters most? The data we looked at indicates that pay levels track corporate performance. This whole pay-for-performance model, it's argued it has generated significant wealth for shareholders and millions of jobs for American workers.
So it's seen as rewarding risk and getting results.
That's the American story, yeah. Rewarding risk, responsibility, delivering results, and the research seems to back it up. Executive job markets are competitive, and mostly pay does align with performance that creates value.
So the shareholders, the actual owners, they're generally okay with these pay deals. That kind of goes against the headlines sometimes.
It often does, yeah. Look at the say on pay votes. Shareholders get to directly approve or reject pay packages. In one analysis, something like 71% of firms got over 90% approval for their executive comp. That's huge support.
Wow, okay.
It really shows shareholders are satisfied when pay seems linked to performance and long-term value. And our sources draw this sharp line. Shareholders have a real stake. They're often relatively satisfied. But critics like, say, politicians, the media, or maybe unions, they're sometimes called uninvited guests at the bargaining table.
Uninvited guests.
Yeah, the idea being their critiques, while loud, might stem from misunderstandings or even feelings like jealousy and envy, not a real focus on creating wealth for everyone involved.
And what about trying to regulate CEO pay? The sources suggest maybe government stepping in actually makes things worse.
That's a strong argument in the material, yeah. The U.S. already has the most stringent rules for disclosing executive pay anywhere in the world.
More than anywhere else.
Yep. And despite that, the argument is that federal regulations, maybe based on those misunderstandings, have led to unintended consequences. They've damaged the economy, maybe even hindered the market's ability to self-regulate.
How so?
Well, some argue intervention has ironically increased pay levels, not decreased them, by setting benchmarks, maybe. And it makes it harder for compensation committees to create really smart, tailored incentive plans for their specific company.
Well, the recommendation is
basically stop trying to fix it. Reverse or repeal existing rules because they're seen as inherently political and driven by political agendas, not by what actually grows the economy.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, because the big picture seems to support wealth creation, performance pay. But then our sources throw in this huge real-world curveball. Tesla, visionary leader, Elon Musk, sure, but also described as being in a governance nightmare. How does that fit with everything we've just talked about?
Well, connecting it back, it really shows that even in this dynamic capitalist system, the market does hold leaders accountable, eventually. Tesla's recent problems aren't really about the idea of high pay for high performance. They're about specific, pretty undeniable governance issues.
And the market noticed.
Oh yeah, big time. Tesla's stock price, it dropped by over half its value between December 2024 and April 2025. That wiped out over $800 billion in market cap.
$800 billion. That's staggering.
It signifies a massive loss of confidence. It shows that even a huge vision isn't enough if the corporate structure isn't sound.
So what were the specific governance problems that caused such a huge reaction?
Well, a major factor, according to the sources, is Musk's divisive leadership style and his move towards more far-right politics. Reports say this alienated a significant portion of Tesla's environmentally conscious customer base, the people who are buying the cars.
Is there proof of that impact?
Yeah, there's a pretty stark statistic. Tesla sales in Germany down 73% in March 2025. And that followed Musk publicly supporting the AfD party there.
Germany's far-right party. Oof.
Right. So critics argue, look, a CEO has to act in the company's best interest. If your personal politics are tanking sales and trust, you either need to change your public behavior or step back from the company. It's about business impact, not just personal views.
So it's a direct hit to the bottom line and the brand.
Exactly. And then there's the whole governance structure itself. It's described as built around one man. Sources say Musk prefers rubber stamp boards that don't really push back or provide independent oversight.
A rubber stamp board basically just agrees with the CEO.
Pretty much. And that's not seen as good governance, especially for a big public company facing serious competition. Plus, his focus on outside roles like heading that Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
DOGE?
Yeah, that can make it seem like Tesla, the core company, is becoming an afterthought, that kind of split focus. It's a huge red flag in governance.
And the market sees plummeting sales with no clear response as part of that governance failure.
Absolutely, especially with issues like the Cybertruck and more competition globally. No clear turnaround plan. That's seen as a leadership and governance flaw.
So what about his pay package in that context? We heard it called the best incentive plan. But are there criticisms now given these issues?
Oh, yes. Significant criticisms in the sources. They called the plan an outlier. They argue it causes enormous dilution for shareholders, potentially giving him another 12% equity on top of the 22% he already has.
That's a huge chunk.
It is. And they also point out it apparently lacks key auto industry metrics, things like quality, production targets, safety, unlike traditional car companies' plans.
But there's another side to that argument.
There is. You get perspectives like from the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. They basically say, well, Tesla is not disrupting the automobile industry by doing everything the way all the other automobile companies do it.
Meaning, let them be different.
Yeah, their point is that letting firms make their own choices, even unconventional ones, is crucial for real innovation. If it fails, the market corrects it, they try something else. So Tesla's governance is clearly under the microscope, but there's this deeper debate about whether you just let the market sort it out, bumps and all.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've looked at this really complex debate around extreme wealth. We saw the argument that huge fortunes are often a result of innovation, creating value that really benefits consumers and society, not just the individual.
Right. And we talked about how performance-based executive pay generally aligns with what shareholders want and helps drive economic growth. And that government regulation in that area sometimes backfires, according to some of the sources.
But, and it's a big but, the Tesla story shows that leadership and governance are absolutely vital, even in a free market. When leadership stumbles through divisive actions or weak oversight, the market, through stock prices, consumer choice, holds them accountable, pretty directly.
Often painfully, yeah.
So what does this mean for you listening? Well, understanding these dynamics helps you look past the headlines, see the real forces shaping our economy. You see the power of innovation, the market's way of rewarding value, and just how crucial strong, focused leadership really is. You can now approach that whole trillionaire debate with, hopefully, a deeper grasp of where wealth comes from, who benefits, and what really drives progress, or holds it back.
And as we look ahead, maybe to a future where trillionaires are actually a thing, here's something to think about. Is the biggest risk to our prosperity really too much success, maybe leading to complacency or a lack of accountability? Or is the real danger the fear of that success, the kind of fear that might lead to policies that stifle the very ambition and innovation that built, well, the most dynamic economies we've ever seen?